Last November, I set off on a road trip to my family's home for Thanksgiving. Living about 20 hours away, I knew the drive would take me about 3 days if I was taking it easy, or 2 days if I really pushed myself. I had made this drive several times before, and honestly, I dreaded it each time. The vast stretches of nothingness, just endless open fields and sprawling forests, always made the trip feel like a monotonous blur. The first half of the drive wasn't too bad, though. It was along the typical highways most people take when traveling to and from major cities. But it was toward the end of the second day that the journey took an unexpected turn. I merged off the main highway onto a smaller side road, still a highway, but much less traveled. There were no truckers or busy cars. It seemed like the kind of road that led to small, forgotten towns. By the time I hit this part of the road, it was already evening, around 7 or 8 p.m., and I had no intention of driving much longer. I hoped to find a small town with a motel or somewhere to sleep, but as the minutes ticked by, I found nothing. After about 2 more hours of driving in complete darkness, with nothing but my headlights cutting through the fog, I spotted a small, old gas station. It looked like the kind of place that might be family-owned and totally isolated. There were no other lights around, no signs of a town or even any houses nearby. But the gas station had its lights on, so I stopped to fill up my tank. Afterward, I parked on the side of the building and went inside to ask if it would be okay to sleep for a few hours in their parking lot. The man behind the counter, probably in his 50s, seemed a bit surprised to see me walk in, which made sense. I'm guessing customers didn't usually stop by this late. He told me that the station would close in 15 minutes, but that if I was comfortable staying at the deserted location, he didn't mind. I thought it was a little odd how he phrased it, like he was implying that maybe I shouldn't feel too comfortable staying there. I brushed it off, grabbed a couple of energy drinks for the road, and headed back to my car. Once back in my car, I reclined my seat and set an alarm for 3 a.m., figuring I'd catch a few hours of rest. I heard the gas station doors lock, followed by the sound of the guy driving away. Then it hit me, without the lights from the station, everything was pitch black, and the silence was unsettling. I tried to sleep, but it felt like the hours dragged on. At some point, I heard the unmistakable sound of tires crunching on gravel, drawing closer and closer. My heart started racing as I opened my eyes to see a dark pickup truck right beside my car. The truck's headlights were off, and I could barely make out the outline of the vehicle, but it was positioned right next to me. My gut told me something wasn't right. I quickly sat up, turned on my car, and drove off, trying to shake the feeling that something bad was about to happen. But the feeling only grew stronger. Less than a quarter of a mile down the road, I hit something in the middle of the gravel path. I caught a quick glimpse of it in my headlights before running over it, and the sound was enough to make my stomach drop. I pulled over, hoping it was just a rock, but when I got out to investigate, I saw a large, dark shape in the middle of the road. It looked like a big duffel bag, but something about it made my mind jump to the worst possible conclusion. It looked like a body bag. I hesitated, standing there in the cold, trying to figure out if my eyes were playing tricks on me. Just as I was about to take a step closer, I heard the sound of tires again, getting closer. I whipped around and saw the truck from the gas station speeding toward me. The truck flew past the object in the road, then slammed on its brakes and swerved right behind my car, coming to an abrupt stop. The doors flew open and 2 men jumped out. In a panic, I threw myself back into my car, floored the gas pedal, and sped down the road, my hands shaking uncontrollably. I tried calling 911, but each time the call would connect, the line would drop due to no signal. Thankfully, it seemed like the truck didn't follow me. At least, I didn't see them again. After what felt like an eternity, I finally made it to a more populated area, about 45 minutes later. I called the police and reported the incident, but they found nothing when they checked the area. To this day, I don't know what those men were doing or what I really saw that night. But I've never taken that route again, and the memory still sends chills down my spine. I was on a road trip from basically the East Coast to the West Coast. I had plans to meet up with some friends, but was also taking the road trip just for fun. I'd only ever flown to individual cities in the West, so I was excited to check out or at least drive through some of the other areas. I had the whole route planned, but on my 3rd day of driving, I entered a part of the highway that was under heavy construction. My maps told me there was a road closure ahead and directed me to get off the highway and onto a small 1-lane road that went right along the highway. Now, right away, I did notice that no other cars seemed to get off when I did. They all were turning and going a different way. However, I figured it was just that they were all headed in a different direction. Maybe there was a big city that way or something. I didn't know because I didn't know the area. I wasn't worried about it because my maps told me to go this way and it was pretty much just going right along the highway anyways. Only difference was it was a smaller road and a lower speed limit. I think I got on this road around 7, so it was already dark. I should mention this trip was just toward the beginning of winter and it was snowing a bit during this part of the road trip. Anyway, as I got further and further down this road, I only became more aware of just how empty it was, and eventually it veered away from the main highway and out into what looked like nothing. I had no idea where it was leading me, but my map said I was still going the right way, and the estimated time to arrive at my destination looked normal, so I figured I was still good. After an hour at least, I saw a cluster of lights in the distance. Looked like a small town, which was great because I was running low on gas. Few minutes later, I was close enough to see that this cluster of lights really was only maybe 15 to 20 buildings. None of them had anything more than a couple of small outdoor lights on. The small town looked very old and run down and honestly deserted. Sure, there were some lights on, but it still felt off. I drove up to the gas station, just some small vacant building on the edge of the town. There was a flickering light on the overhang and the pump seemed to be working. So, I got out and started filling the tank. Oddly, there was actually another car at the gas station. It was a small grayish SUV parked at the pump across from me. Its windows weren't tinted or anything, so I could clearly see through them. It looked like there was a bunch of stuff packed in its suitcases and whatnot, making it seem like the owner was on a road trip just like I was. But nobody was inside of it, and nobody was outside of the car either. I wasn't sure where the driver could have gone, especially since the gas station building was clearly closed. And this SUV definitely didn't belong to this town. It looked like they were just passing through. I started to feel a little more uncomfortable. The town had this really eerie feeling to it. It was also real quiet out there. The dead silence gave me shivers every time I looked out at the darkness and the empty streets. To make things worse, the gas was filling up extremely slow. It took a whole minute just for a single gallon, which probably wasn't even enough to get over to the next town, wherever the hell that even was. And I think it was after being there for 2 minutes, waiting in the dark silence, that a sudden scream echoed in the distance. It was a male voice screaming for help. I was already so on edge that it made me jump back and slam my shoulder against the gas pump. I stared into the direction it came from, but it was complete blackout. There was something about the voice that didn't feel right. I took a few steps away from my car just to get a clearer view of the area. Then the man yelled again, way closer this time, like somewhere in the darkness right outside the gas station. I looked out there for about 20 seconds, listening to the eerie silence that followed his voice, before sudden movement caught my eye. It looked like someone running through the dark toward the back of the gas station. And almost as soon as I saw that, something else moved in another part of the dark. I felt like I was going insane, and my gut told me to get the hell out of this town immediately. I quickly started taking the pump out, and as I did, I could hear multiple people running around through the grass just outside the lights of the station. I hurried into my car, and that's when several guys came out of the dark, clearly all coordinated in whatever plan they had. They began sprinting toward me just as I got the car into drive. I sped out of there and straight back onto the deserted road. I keep thinking about that empty car that was there, seeming to be on a road trip just like I was probably getting there just a few minutes before I did. Was the person calling out for help in the dark attacked by the same men I saw? Or maybe the person calling for help was what lured the other driver out there, only for who knows what to happen. There wasn't even a police station in that town. So although I reported the situation, I have no idea if they even drove out there to look. I never got any updates on what really happened in that town.